Wrestling is fond of its surprises. For as long as promotions have been going at it, they have promised fans huge, unexpected twists and turns.
Sometimes they deliver, and sometimes they don't.
Who's my son?
Hornswoggle.
But sometimes surprises in wrestling are so unbelievably pointless, stupid, and underwhelming, well, they find themselves here on this very channel.
That's why we're going to go back to June of 2007 with AAA Triplemania 15 with one of the weirdest 8-man Atomico matches I think we've ever seen here on Mystery Match Theater.
We're going down to Mexico to cover Triplemania, the biggest show down there. But first, let's be honest here, a disclaimer of sorts. I am not an expert on Lucha Libre or AAA, CMML, that whole style that caters to a very different, separate fan base that has different tastes than you or I have, Tim.
Yeah, and also, I am also not located in Mexico either. I am in America. I know about AAA, I know about CMLL, but of course, not an expert in it. So we just want to put that disclaimer out before we start this, but we're still going to have a little fun with it, though.
And honestly, stupid is one of the universal truths out there. We all know bad wrestling, whether you're an American, in Mexico, in Japan, anywhere in the world. Sometimes you look at a match and go, what the hell just happened here?
And that's pretty much what we did here with this one. We were looking through this card and I said, wow, that's a really weird match. And we started watching it and I said, no. I found a weirder match happened before this weird match. So we were originally going to do the main event of this card, which is what, a 6-man Atomicos match in a cage, which was also very strange. But no. But then when we saw this 8-man tag that happened just before, we stopped everything and immediately went for this.
Yeah, actually, first, another disclaimer before we jump into it. Sometimes there are just things in wrestling that are so disappointing that you just can't help but kind of marvel at them. And that brings us to the semi-main event here at Triplemania 15. It is 4 guys you probably know, 3 guys you may have heard of, and just, well, we'll talk a little bit more about the 4th man for the team from AAA.
Yeah, we can't get into the people just yet because we got to give a lot of background to this because there certainly is going to be a lot of background, especially with that mystery man.
Also, there's going to be a lot of background because the introductions take up about a half, if not 2/3 of the match itself. So, yeah, let's go to, we can't go to the ring because nothing's happening there, but let's go down to the entrance ramp and see who is fighting it out here in the semi-main event of Triplemania.
All right, so starting out, we have Headhunter A. So you might know of him because he was all over Puerto Rico. He was in Japan for a good decade or so, and now he's here in Mexico showing up, and he looks kind of confused.
He is also super uninteresting in just about all fronts. I mean, he's been wrestling in Mexico for a good long while at this point, and seriously, this kid's face at ringside says more than Woods ever could about how the locals feel about Headhunter A.
So there you have Headhunter A, no Headhunter B, his brother's not showing up. Instead, you have Ron Killings, who had a very interesting 2007 and will continue to have an interesting 2007 after this match.
This is the meat of a very peculiar sandwich in which he's in feud with NFL or former NFL stars. So before this tour of AAA, Ron Killings is facing off against Tennessee Titans tight end Frank Wycheck and Jerry Lynn. He loses that match, goes to AAA, and then when he shows back up in TNA, well, he's teaming with Pac-Man Jones. Pac-Man Jones, 32 in the zone. Why don't you leave him alone?
Too bad they couldn't get a quarterback to face him. Then he could have, faced pretty much everyone on the Titans. I don't know who the quarterback on the Titans was at that time. Maybe you can.
That would have been Vince Young.
Was it Vince Young? Okay, I was going to say McNair.
That was Vince Young.
Okay. Well, you know what? Vince Young might have been good in the ring, actually. He was pretty big.
And I think if not, Kerry Collins was the backup, and he's kind of a hillbilly, so he would have probably loved it.
You know what? I would have loved to have watched Kerry Collins in a TNA ring. That would have been so much fun. But let's
Oddly enough, actually one more thing. I think the only person perhaps more mobile than Headhunter Headhunter A at this point might have been Kerry Collins. And I mean, they're like razor thin margin there because Kerry Collins was a statue in the pocket.
Yeah, pretty much. Digressing from there, let's go to the third man in this match, which is RIP Sabu, who does come out. I don't believe he was in Mexico a ton. He was probably in Japan more than he was in Mexico, but still, he's a fairly well-known name here.
The late Sabu, I mean, first I have to say I get a kick out of him menacing those same kids bored with Headhunter A by like just threatening him with a chair. But Sabu was actually fresh back on the independent scene after that less than stellar stint with ECW 2.0. So yeah, he was actually there at the start of 2007, but this is Sabu's first time in AAA since 1995, and you can see the fans are certainly excited to see him.
Welcome to Mexico, Sabu!
So the fourth guy is a very interesting story because originally it was supposed to be Paul White, the Big Show, which kind of seems crazy, but in 2007, he was not under contract with WWE. He actually wrestled in a very interesting independent match, which we'll talk about in a minute as well. So he was supposed to be the fourth man here, but instead you got Rikishi, and it was even stranger.
Rikishi comes out. He's there with Conan, who's sort of leading this stable of foreign heels that are loosely affiliated with one another. But there's another man with Rikishi. That would be his cousin, Reno Anoa'i, who, of course, cousins with Rikishi, cousins with Yokozuna, cousins with Roman Reigns, the long-lost member of the Bloodline who did actually wrestle. The thing about Reno here is that his gimmick is just like pretending that he's 1996 Triple H, but rocking one of those puffy shirts from Seinfeld. It's a very confusing look for anyway, even in the weird wide world of professional wrestling. I'm not quite sure this was the look.
But I don't want to be a pirate.
Welcome to America's new favorite game show, Where Was Rkkeshi Wrestling in 2007, where I ask one contestant where in the hell Rikishi was wrestling before this AAA semi-main event. Our contestant today is Tim. Tim, are you ready to guess where Rikishi was wrestling in 2007?
I guess so.
I hope you win. We have some lovely prizes for you, but let's jump right into it. Where in the world was Rikishi wrestling? His last match before going to this AAA semi-main event was a UWF event in a very famous wrestling city, Greensboro, North Carolina. It was Rikishi teaming up with Team Maction, that being Kirby Mack and TJ Mack, where they defeated Jake Manning and the Diamonds in the Rough, David Young, and Elix Skipper of TNA fame. So, Tim, I ask you, what venue was Rikishi wrestling at in Greensboro, North Carolina for this event?
And I'm going to guess, this might be a long shot, the Greensboro Coliseum.
Understandable historic wrestling venue, but you would be incorrect on this evening. Rikishi was wrestling in the Salvation Army Boys and Girls Club in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Wow, some big events happen there, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, he got one over on the Diamonds in the Rough. That's a rarity for that tag team for sure. Anyway, you missed the first one. We still got two more questions for you. And for the second question, we're going to take it international. For this in 2007, Rikishi was taking a lot of international dates. And one of those dates saw him head to Wrestling Alliance Revolution for their War Revolution, the beginning event. He took on Orlando Jordan on this evening. He beat Orlando Jordan as well. So the first question is, name the country Rikishi was wrestling in, and a bonus point for the name he was going under at this event.
Oof. Well, I know WAR might be Japan.
Is that your answer?
Yeah.
And would you like to take a guess on the nickname Rikishi was using?
Let's see. He always goes by Rikishi Fatu, so I'm going to guess Fatu.
You would be incorrect on both fronts. Rikishi was just called the Quiche in this event, and it was happening in Ecuador.
Wow.
Ecuador was the answer we were looking for. So yeah, you missed the Orlando Jordan Rikishi bout in Ecuador in 2007. I only assume the crowd was super hot for that exciting wrestling action. You're 0 for 2 right now, Tim, but we do have the final Where Was Rkkeshi wrestling question, and this one just happens to be worth triple the points. So, are you ready for this last question?
I gotta get one of these.
All right, so in this event, it is for the BAW Heavyweight Championship Tournament. Rikishi is taking on JD Bishop, and it is in the fine state of Oregon. So I'll give you two options here. You can either tell me the city it was in or the name of the venue Rikishi was wrestling in on this date in 2007.
Ooh, okay. I lived in Oregon for a bit. Now, I'm not going to guess Portland because that would be too easy. So I'm going to go with Salem, Oregon.
I'm sorry. You are somewhat close, but in another sense, very, very far away. Rikishi wasn't even coming close to reaching the heights of Salem, Oregon. He was fighting JD Bishop in BAW at the McMinnville Armory in lovely McMinnville, Oregon, home of Linfield Division III Football National Championships, a powerhouse at the level. But yes, Rikishi was in the McMinnville Armory of all places. I heard he tried to get a bout at that plane museum where the Spruce Goose is at, Howard Hughes' weird plane, but they turned him down. Anyway, sorry, Tim, you do not win Where Was Rkkeshi wrestling in 2007, but we do have parting gifts for you. You will receive the home version of Where Was Rkkeshi wrestling, where you get hot, exciting questions like we just asked you, as well as video and photos of the events. And perhaps more importantly, you get to continue on watching this match from Triplemania featuring Rikishi in 2007.
Ah, darn it. Their opponents are going to be a AAA team of three guys, and then we'll get to the fourth guy. But the three guys are Zorro, who they are really pushing and people seem to be pretty behind, Latin Lover, who's been there forever and everybody knows, and of course Parka, who we all know as well.
However, AAA's team, it isn't about those three. I mean, they're all popular with the crowd to a certain extent. And I mean, Latin Lover is big with the ladies, not so much the men. But this team is going to be defined by its fourth man, Gran Sorpressa. In Spanish, that means the big surprise. AAA has been talking this up for weeks at this point in time. They had this huge surprise on the poster that's just question marks. It says Gran Sorpressa, and they've been talking about it a lot on television, and they've been name dropping a few different people, a few different stars, but one individual has drawn the most headlines here. That would be none other than Hulk Hogan.
Who else would they be mentioning? Of course it's Hulk Hogan. And it was actually, they could have done this. This was very feasible at this point because Hulk Hogan was not under contract with anyone. He was just doing random things here and there. I believe he was still filming Hogan Knows Best, that Emmy Award winning show right there. So he actually could have done this. And also Hogan actually did do a one-off match against the Big Show in Memphis. So he was paid a lot of money, and I'm sure if Mexico would have given him the money, he would have shown up here.
Yeah, Hogan is not one to turn down money for really anything with his track record of terrible business ideas and investments and pasta-based restaurant chains and malls. The thing about this is it wasn't just Hogan. I mean, AAA wanted you to believe Hulk Hogan was coming, but they did try to cover their bases, and fans also speculated on who else this could be because, let's be honest, having like America's hero come represent this team from Mexico, it didn't make a lot of sense on any level. But yeah, some of the other names talked about was Carlito, who has a Latin background, you know, with the being from Puerto Rico, and that would have made a little more sense that he wanted to come in and defeat Conan and whatever. Some just thought AAA was going to poach a star from a rival promotion, maybe CMML, who had a few big names on the Mexican wrestling scene at the time. Hell, maybe AAA could just underdeliver and pull off someone from their roster they already had. That wasn't outside the realm of possibility. You know, they tried to get Hogan. He doesn't show up. So you just gotta work around it. And if I'm being quite honest, any of those would have been better than what AAA actually delivers as their big surprise.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because when they bring out the fourth man, it is a man. It's a man. You don't know who this man is for a while, and it's almost like he sprints to the ring. The camera has a shot on him underneath his hood, but you have no idea who this man is. He comes in the ring. When he takes off his hood, he is just a man with a bunch of scars or what looks like some sort of mummy tape on him. Not really sure exactly what they were going for here, but yeah, here he is. Here's the grand surprise.
Nobody knows who he is, like, in the crowd. No one seems to know who he is in the ring, by the way. And eventually he's announced as El Animal,
which fits him perfectly because we did do some research on this man. We did waste some time, a little bit. From what I have found is that he was a bunch of gimmicks. He wrestled in pretty much every single Mexican promotion that was down there. And I believe he was in a mask versus mask match. And I think you have some more about him as well.
Yeah, he also went by Toro Ircion. He'd fought Hector Garza at one time. He'd been in AAA, CMML, a few different promotions down there. He actually wrestled in Japan as well. But I mean, this was a nobody. And there's a reason why he's wearing about 25 pounds worth of prosthetics and going by the Animal at this point. You want to know just how big of a nobody this guy was, just how little people cared about him. So they announce him as El Animal, and Toro de Cuatro Caminos goes deathly silent. Like, you could hear a pin drop. By the way, as he's being announced, this huge surprise, Parka and Rikishi are off to the side, just having this lighthearted dance-off. This is some sort of half-man, half-beast animal, whatever you want to say. And literally the other wrestlers are just taking a hot, steaming juice all over his gimmick already.
That's when we knew from this point that this was going to be a mystery match theater.
Yeah, it's so awkward, too, when he's in the ring, because no one is even interacting with him. He just looks like a very, awkward high school student standing alone by his locker. The only person who does anything with El Animal is Rikishi's cousin, who we don't even know if he's part of the match. I will never ever know why he is there, but it's such a bizarre scene. And then all of a sudden the fans just start chanting for Sabu. You just hear these large Sabu, Sabu chants from the Mexican crowd.
So now we're in the match. The match is finally underway, except not a lot of stuff happens. We get a lot of chain wrestling, a lot of it, especially chain wrestling from Sabu, which is very strange to see because it's Sabu. So you would think he would do something crazy, except I'm pretty sure Sabu was injured in this match. I think he had a hurt wrist from ECW. So that's why he's probably doing some chain wrestling here. But yeah, just very awkward beginnings.
We're off to a bad start here.
And then we get some more dance-offs.
This dance-off, so Rikishi and Parka have another dance-off, but this has zero payoff. Normally, if you're having some sort of dance-off between two wrestlers, it's going to lead somewhere. You're going to get something here. And this was first of many times where I just became a little infuriated inside at just what the hell is happening here? So it's Rikishi and Parka are dancing, and then nothing happens, and they're in a headlock for some reason.
And then there was a Latin lover, Headhunter A, have a dance-off as well, because why not? Let's have some more dance-offs going.
I will say that, at least this one did end with a payoff of sorts. They used it to progress some sort of story. I never needed a Latin lover Headhunter A dance-off in my life, if I'm being completely honest with you. The dance break ends up to perhaps the first big move of the match, but it's really hard to call it a move because Headhunter A basically just throws himself over the ropes, and then Latin Lover is not even near him, and then eventually he gets towards Headhunter A, who's halfway out of the ring at this point. It's just, firstly, they almost botched this move despite the fact Headhunter Ring has tossed himself out of the ring already for this clothesline spot. It is some of the worst wrestling I have ever seen, and it's so sloppy. The cameras don't hide it. What are we doing here? This can't be this can't be semi-main event of your biggest show of the year, AAA.
It's almost as if they got in the ring and everyone said, I don't want to do anything. That's pretty much what happened. We got in the ring and everyone said, I don't want to do anything, except for maybe El Zorro wanted to do something, and like Sabu wanted to do a few things here and there. Ron Killings tags no one, but somehow gets in the ring because it's one of those things where everyone's out of the ring, so we need somebody in the ring, so he just hops on in. And then, yeah, just some more weirdness and botches happen.
Yeah, let's hope this, like, not tagging in or confusing taggings, like, let's just hope this doesn't become a trend or anything, because I always hate tag team matches where the tagging becomes optional. Anyway, Latin Lover tags in La Parka, and La Parka just kind of like says nope, and he points over to El Animal, who enters the ring without tagging on. Crap.
Here we go. This is the best part of the match right here. El Animal, first big move is Rikishi ripping off some of his prosthetics. So if you don't know, he's wearing, like I said, some sort of mummy tape on him. He's got a lot of hair on his head, which I think some of that hair is fake as well. So they basically just threw stuff on this guy. It's almost as if they just had a bunch of stuff, you know, back where, you know, they do their hair and their makeup and, you know, where they put wax on themselves. They just threw stuff on him and hoped that it was going to stick throughout this match, except none of it was sticking. Even while he was coming out to the ring, some of it was falling off.
Yeah, his first big move is to have Rikishi just rip off his makeup, and he is down like it hurts him, and it actually, believe it or not, gets worse from here because he attempts a sunset flip.
And it does not go well.
This is his first big move. This is your big surprise. And his first big move is completely whiffing on a sunset flip. And, you know, I just found myself at this point yearning from the dance-offs with no payoffs.
You know, I was mad that he went for a sunset flip on Rikishi to begin with. Dude, like the animal weighs maybe 200 pounds if he's lucky. I don't even think he is because he's a short guy. And he's trying to sunset flip Rikishi, who's a good 450 at this point. Like, that's not going to work. So first El Animal goes for a sunset flip. Doesn't work. So he says, you know what? I'm going to go for the easiest move of all time on Rikishi. How about a body slam?
Not just a body slam, but I'm going to body slam him while we're in the corner. The only thing this succeeds in doing is like El Animal just gets like a handful of Rikishi's perineum. Like he's just like holding his scrotum gently. Oh, nothing. Oh, you know what? Like,
Rikishi definitely got his money's worth out of this match, I feel like. So all this stuff's happening. More people are entering the ring where there's no tags. Something happens. So now Zorro's in the ring.
Zorro actually gets a huge pop. I was really surprised at the crowd's reaction to El Zorro. I didn't really know a lot about him going in. Sadly, I did research on him, and things are not going to go well for this individual. I won't spoil the match for you, but before this match, he had been a heel. He finally turned face. You can kind of get the sense the fans are happy that he's a face now. And, well, what do you think Conan is going to do to El Zorro in a few months?
I'm going to think crush him.
Not necessarily crush him. He's going to give him that big old confusing, like, WCW 2000s push. Conan decides to have El Zorro turn heel, denounce his Mexican heritage, like proclaim that he's somehow Spanish or that he has Spanish heritage, and he joins the group of foreign heels that Conan is just managing for seemingly an eternity at this point in AAA. But if we're being honest, this is like a very weird time for Conan.
Yeah, because he's actually supposed to be having surgery. And he was in TNA at this point, not really wrestling, not really doing too much. I believe he's mostly behind the scenes. He does do some interviews on camera during 2007, but he's in a wheelchair for a lot of that time as well, or he's on crutches. He's not really doing too well here. So he was actually supposed to be getting surgery this weekend, but instead he flew down to Mexico to be at the show, and then he's going to fly back up into America to get the surgery. I don't know why he had to show up here, but I guess because he was booking it, he wanted to show up.
Anyway, at this point in time, El Animal, he enters the ring for no reason and then quickly leaves the ring.
Yeah, also that Reno Anawai guy is in the match. He's like on the apron. And you and me were both confused about if this guy was in the match or not. He's not listed as being in the match, but he shows up a lot in it.
He's not announced as a participant. Like none of the listings for the match have him being a part of it. It's not listed as a 5-on-4 handicap match, yet you see him on the ring willing to take a tag if tags were ever being enforced. So it's never really clear Is he participating? Is he not participating? I don't know what he's doing there apart from being Rikishi's cousin.
So here's the thing that annoyed me here. So we already don't have tags involved in this match. We have guys coming in and out of the ring. We have managers involving themselves in the match. But then we have to have a distracted ref so that Zorro can actually tag in Parka, but it can be missed so that Parka has to go back outside the ring and being forced to go outside by the ref. What was the point of that? There was no point.
Even for a Mexican multi-man tag match, this feels like it's just absurd. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it actually somehow gets even further into the realm of ridiculous because El Zorro somehow tags in both La Parka and Latin Lover at the same damn time. And they both enter and the referee just lets it happen. Like, who is the legal man? You can't tag in two people. What are we doing? Also, Latin Lover is like halfway, like 3/4 of the way in the ring before he's even being tagged. Why? Just why?
I do love Latin Lover, though, in this match because he wanted to enter the match without being tagged, but he has one foot in the ring, another foot that is basically like his knee is on the ropes, but 75% of his body's in the ring. But he waits to be tagged so that he can enter the rest of his 25% of his body. You didn't need to do that. You could have just entered, dude, at this point.
Yeah, and then we just like this double team hot tag. The ref doesn't ever like bother to tell us who's legal. And why is El Zorro tagging in two people? The Latin Lover thing is stupid. El Zorro should know, like, you don't need to tag in two people. He just does this big, like, double high fives, everyone. Like, let's everyone get into the ring. So that happens, and we get the hot tag. And then, like, Sabu just has this really weird, I don't know, like, what he's thinking here, because he thinks about entering the ring, and then he sort of just stops himself and goes back onto the apron. Like, I had forgotten Sabu was even part of this match at this point. And just to see him just sort of like saying like, well, I could do a spot or something, but honestly, I'm good.
Yeah, he got his money. He doesn't care. He did his few minute or two at the beginning of the match where he did some chain wrestling and stuff. But once he got out of that ring, yeah, he is like a complete imaginary person in this match. You don't even know he's there, and I think at the end you don't even really know he's there.
I wish I could say the same for El Animal because he is in the ring and he sucks. Like, this is just like, he is doing some of the worst kicks. El Animal is a surprise of epic proportions, but not in a good way.
So wrestling fans nowadays love to scrutinize celebrities when they come in their match. Like, you know, everybody loves that Bad Bunny's really good in the ring, and everybody loves that Logan Paul's really good in the ring, but they don't remember the tons of very terrible celebrities that were in matches. Well, El Animal is basically like one of them. He is a very bad celebrity wrestler. Even though this guy has about 10 years worth of experience, he is awful somehow. I don't know how this man is awful, but he is just so awful in this match that you almost think that he is like a manager. You almost assume that he is Reno and Anawahi or someone like that, or like Conan, who just entered this match and is just getting beaten up or is in the match just to get a pop, except nobody in the crowd's popping. Nobody cares.
He looks like a little kid who saw like some wrestling moves and tried to do them on his brother. They're just so bad. This guy has years of experience. Like, he has wrestled a bunch of matches. There is no good explanation for him to be this bad. Even we know this match was thrown together super last minute and no one seems to have any idea of what they're doing, but that doesn't excuse his inability to hit even the most basic wrestling move in a competent fashion.
And, you know, wrestlers love to talk about, you know, doing it in the ring. Let's think about it in the ring. This was a match that was totally done in the ring, but nobody knew what they wanted to do when they got in the ring. They all got in the ring, and I believe when they have that 4-on-4 standoff at the beginning, they're talking about what they want to do in this match, but they don't talk too much because nobody does anything.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure like what everyone on the AAA team is saying is like, we're not taking any bumps apart from El Zorro, so like, you ain't getting heat on us, brother. And like, Sabu's just like, I don't think Sabu talks to anyone.
Yeah,
he's just checked out. Ron Killings is there. He does a few things.
Yeah, Ron Killings actually does a lot of very athletic stuff in this match. He does his jumping kick that he spins. Like, that's kind of cool. That's probably the most athletic thing in the match. But you know what? Let's just go back to the action because we'll have a lot more to say.
Everything breaks down in that classic chaotic multi-man tag spot where everyone's sort of doing something. Although here, No one seems to be doing much of anything. Eventually, we get to a series of high impact, and I use that term extremely loosely here, high impact moves. Reno Anoa'i comes in, hits one of the weakest looking moves I've ever seen. It's probably his finisher. It shouldn't be anyone's finisher. It looks terrible. It seems like it wouldn't hurt anyone at all. It's so bad. I'm also not even sure if he's part of the match. Why are you here? Why are you on the ring apron? Is this a run-in? Are you a legal man? Could this be a DQ situation? Never ever explained.
I hope Reno Anoa'i got paid something here, because he's in this match for more than some other guys in this match.
Well, I'm pretty sure that was the stipulation Rikishi made. I mean, Rikishi was kind of like just bringing Reno Anoa'i along with him for and they're cousins. Like, fair enough, whatever. I'm not gonna dismiss that. This payday is for Rikishi because Reno doesn't necessarily seem like he's at a stage of his career. He's very early in his career at this point. He's working some California indies, but he's still pretty green. And this is definitely a favor to get Rikishi to come to fill the Paul Wright spot. But I don't really know if the match would have been better or worse without Reno, but he's there.
You know what? It would have probably been more interesting with Paul White, but we'll see.
We don't have Paul White or Big Show or whatever you want to call him. We do have Rikishi, and it's now just Rikishi and El Zorro in the ring, neither of whom, by the way, are the legal man. I don't know who the legal man was, but it was definitely not either of these two, because the last time we saw El Zorro tagging anyone, he tagged in Latin Lover and La Parka, so I would assume one of them have to be the legal man. Doesn't matter, though. Move past it.
I guess if we want to say who the legal man is, neither one of these men are, because I don't think Rikishi ever gets tagged in the match. I'm pretty sure he just enters at will multiple times, and then, yeah, El Zorro just entered here as well. But this is where one of the, I guess, funnier spots. Really, this whole match is funny, but this is one of the more funnier spots of the match.
Rikishi is going up to do the bonsai drop, as he is wont to do. El Zorro gets his knees up to block it. We've seen the spot before, but it's not something that was done a lot, and it looks pretty good here. It comes off. At this point, Rikishi doubled over in pain, just got countered. One of his big signature spots is countered. El Zorro wants to tag in someone from his team, although he goes to the other side of the ring where La Parka is now standing, which I'm pretty sure that's not how that works in tag matches. Like, you can't just show up somewhere along the ring to tag. Let's not even focus on that at this point. Tim, I'm going to ask you a question though. We've just seen this spot with Zorro and Rikishi. Zorro's desperately trying to get the hot tag. Heel's in pain. How do you think we're getting to the finish?
That's a good one. I think we're going to get to the finish somehow involving El Animal, since he's the big surprise, right?
I got a bigger surprise for you. No one gets tagged in. Like, La Parka goes off and chases someone. Conan enters the ring, just decks Zorro, and that's it. That's your finish. Like, Rikishi comes along, just sits on El Zorro's lifeless body, and the foreign heels win.
Yeah, what a way to get El Zorro over. This was the man who actually everyone was into, and they just completely crush him here.
But I do want to give a special shout out to the ref, who pulls off the most athletic move in the entire match, jumping over Rikishi and El Zorro to get the pin in. I'm dead serious. That jump to get the hand on the mat, that is the best move of the entire match.
You know what? He kind of looked like a 1980s NWA referee who used to get really into position. That's what he looked like there.
Afterwards, we get a further post-match beatdown on El Zorro, really trying to get sympathy for that soon-to-be heel turn he's about to go on in a few months' time. He's just about the only person on his team to take any sort of bump whatsoever. El Animal, I guess, had prosthetics pulled off and did that sunset that failed. La Parka just danced for a while. Latin Lover had that really bad clothesline attempt on Headhunter. But yeah, El Zorro is pretty much the only guy doing any work for his team of faces, by the way.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he probably got paid the least out of everyone in this match, and he did the most amount of work.
We get the post-match beatdown. It's continuing. Sabu reappears from wherever he was at, and he just gets drilled with a water bottle from somewhere in the crowd. He's in a pretty bad way. Like, he actually goes down to one knee. He seems like he might be concussed. And no one in the ring bothers checking up on him, by the way. You just have Sabu sort of stumbling around in pain, and everyone's like, we got to get the heat on El Zorro. Screw you, Sabu. It's time just to make sure we ruin El Zorro for the fans. And yeah, that's That's it. Sabu does get up and he does like a really weak chair shot on El Zorro, but there you go.
So curtain down on mystery match theater here.
That was quite the mystery. You have the mystery of who is the big surprise, and then you have the mystery of how this team of random foreign heels is going to do in Mexico. But really, I think the biggest mystery of all was, why, Conan? Why did you book this match? So there you have it, the semi-main event of Triplemania 15, AAA's largest show of the year, and this was their second highest placed match on the card. A match not featuring Hulk Hogan, not featuring Paul Wright, not featuring, well, anyone who seemingly wanted to do anything resembling wrestling.
So there you go. If you want to see us do more of these mystery match theaters, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel below. Like and share this video as well. And if you have any suggestions for Mystery Match Theater, we would love to hear them in the comments. But I think we have about a list of 20 ready to go.
We do, but most important of all, just remember, if you are the special guest referee in a tag match in Mexico, or at least a multi-8-man tag match in Mexico, well, those tags, they're extremely optional. And don't forget, the 2-man double tag is very much a thing.